Hello, I'm Dr. Chuck, 30-year cancer doc turned health and wellness coach. I have a website where I have a lot of good information. It's called coachitforwardchuck.com. I have some wonderful other coaches that are on this site where we can help people get started with some coaching and optimize their health so they can better serve the world. My goal and my theme through all this is always to offer simple, accessible, affordable health priorities for people to try and try to get right 80% of the time. We're not seeking 100% or perfection. If you do it 80% of the time, you will rock. Here we are going to talk about nutrition, and nutrition, could be hours and hours. It's been a lifelong fascination of mine. As a cancer doc, I thought it was important to speak clearly about strategies with nutrition and metabolic therapies. Ironically, the 22 NCI dedicated cancer centers don't have a consistent recommendation on what to eat. It's still not clear on a national level. I'll give you my opinion, and that's all I can give you. When I think about nutrition, I look to our ancestors. We've only really been growing grain for the last 2 to 3% of our biologic development. And for 98% of it, 97% of it, we were hunter-gatherers. And during that time, we may go 12 to 14 to 16 hours between feeds. And during that, we had to maintain strength and clarity to keep hunting and keep gathering. When we did eat, it was generally a lot of fat, with fat animals, and a lot of vegetables from, roots and nuts. It was some protein from the meat of the animals or the fish, and rare, bitter fruits. It wasn't like the GMO modified high glucose sweet fruits we see today. So the amount of carbohydrates and fruits were kind of lower on the pyramid. It was actually the pyramid in reverse, because today's food pyramid emphasizes grains and fruits at the bottom, and I would say that we're better off having those at the top and make those a rare occurrence in our diet. In fact, the standard American diet, or the SAD diet, we've been following for now, and we have a health crisis in America. Obesity and metabolic diseases, it's quite a crisis. And we now have obesity as the second most common cause of cancer. Smoking is the first, but close behind it is now obesity. And it's because of the metabolic factors that occur when we have a lifestyle that leads to obesity. And those factors also lead to cellular changes and development of a cancer. The big thing about diet is we want to choose foods that don't activate insulin growth factor and insulin, basically don't raise up your blood sugars. Because when you activate these cellular messengers, and insulin is the main cellular messenger, it activates proliferation. Proliferation is telling the cells to divide. And ancestrally, that was important because we might only do it once every 12 to 18 hours. And when we get a kill and we're able to eat, we'd want to make new cells because it'd been 12 to 18 hours since the last time we made new cells. And that was okay. That kept us healthy back then. But now, if we have a glucose or carbohydrate load 3 to 5 times a day, that's not going to work for us. That proliferation is going to be activated, and that's going to tell everything we eat to be put into storage, fats and proteins and glucose and carbohydrates. And shortly after that, we'll wonder where our food went in our bloodstream, and we'll be hungry again, and we'll get into that cycle. I tell people, using carbohydrates as the base of our food pyramid is like a polar bear trying to live in the desert. It's just not going to work out. And we're seeing that right now. So put on your best doctor hat and be your own best doctor and make your own decisions and kind of take a new path. We got a lot of dietary information coming at us right now. The common link is to keep your insulin or your IGF and insulin levels low. That's the crux, that's the kingpin. And the way we can do that are lower carb diets. Number 2, long non-eating windows to make our system, gets very efficient then. We start throwing out cells that we don't need anymore. That's called autophagy. That in itself may reduce risk of cancer. And secondly, it makes our our cellular system's more sensitive to the insulin levels we have, so it doesn't get as high. These long non-eating gaps are very important and have been shown to really activate growth hormone and stem cell production, all these good things for the body. You can call it the keto, you can call it high fat, you can call it Atkins, whatever you want to be. The important things that I think out there are to try to have some long non-eating windows. And remember, when we eat, it takes 6 to 8 hours for our GI tract, our digestive tract, to process the food, get it out of the intestinal tract, neutralize some things, get it going in the portal system toward the liver. It takes the liver another 2 to 4 hours to process. And then after it processes, it takes the liver another 2 to 4 hours to detoxify all the work it's done. And by grabbing food late at night and, eating first thing in the morning maybe, we don't give that liver a chance to recover. It's like having a kitchen that you never clean. You're always making new meals after, just finishing cooking the old ones. We really need that 12 to 16 hours to process, and that non-eating window is very important. And you can drink water in the morning or water with electrolyte in it, but I try a few times a week to, not eat after my 7 o'clock meal and go all the way to noon or even 6 p.m. the next day. And the more you become used to doing it, the easier it gets. I'd also advocate that if you're going to do some carbs, and we all need to do some carbs, hopefully complex carbs, rich in nutrients, kind of root vegetables, things like that, do them in the evening. That will help us sleep. You don't want to do is like have that big carb breakfast in the morning and be mystified why you're sleepy or foggy, a few hours later. It's scary to think that I got through high school, med school, undergrad, whatever, going with that big bowl of Product 19 or Special K foods that I thought were, going to be good for me that were probably not helping me. The other thing I want to mention that is, going keto is not a license to eat a bunch of, semi-toxic, meats and fats. Keto, really the meaning there is the base of your diet should be good, clean vegetables, things that don't have a label on it, coupled with clean fats, clean meats or fish, depending on what you're considering to eat. And then, once again, some carbs, clean carbs in the evening. It's really important to get the prebiotics right, the unsoluble vegetables that bolster our microbiome. Microbiome is an evolving science. We don't have it all figured out yet. There are some good companies up there like Viome that are testing and making some suggestions. I won't go too much into that, but I try to, in the morning, even if I'm not going to eat anything, sometimes before I have my coffee with clean fat in it, I might have a half a stick of celery just to kind of bolster the gut biome. The other thing I'll say that is out there that's important to state is fruits are not always your friend. In today's world, most fruit is just a batch of water and a bunch of fructose. And fructose does one thing well, it repopulates glycogen in the liver well, but it does a lot of things bad. It causes an aging reaction called the Browning reaction. It doesn't let you know when you're full. You can drink fructose corn syrup drinks till you're blue in the face and you never feel satiated. And so that's what the problem is. People walk in, they get their free drink that's an endless drink at a fast food restaurant, they start drinking it, then they get their food. No matter what they eat after that, it all goes in the storage because their insulin levels are high. So give up, some of the ultra sweet fruits. The things that I like to focus on are the blueberries, blackberries, raspberries. The berries have the most polyphenols with less sugar. And give up the bananas and the grapes and those things, especially if you're trying to lose weight and lower your blood sugars. Don't forget the prebiotics, the unsoluble vegetables. And the goal, once again, is metabolic flexibility. What that means is you can eat a meal and be good, or you can skip a few meals and be good. The beauty of this lifestyle I've had is if I'm busy at noon, I don't even think about lunch. If I'm busy in the morning, like this morning I knew I had a long day, so I had some boiled eggs. But most mornings I do my fat coffee with some electrolytes in the water I drink, and I go all the way to noon or even dinner time. And it's metabolic flexibility. That's good for the body. The brain clarity that occurs during it is wonderful. I think that's the common link with all the diets out there. So once again, nutrition is important. Think about metabolic flexibility. Think about some of the tenets we have here. I go into more detail at my website. My theme, once again, is simple, accessible, affordable health priorities for people to try to get right 80% of the time. If you do that, I think you'll be really rocking it. And in closing, I would say, remember, you are your own best doctor. Stay strong and curious, and good luck.